since I made a video, but I've been kind of busy. Work is calling me away, out of town, out of the country. But anyway, today we have in the shop is a Johnny Morris Extreme Performance Series Carolina rig rod, as it states there. This rod is a 7-foot medium heavy action, 3/8 to 3/4, 10 to 20 pound line, and it's got a boo-boo. It's got a broken guide, which is the first one up from the reel, and we're going to strip that apart, clean it up the best we can. It should look good. This is a satin finish blank. It's a lot easier to strip that the thread and the epoxy off of a satin finished or a flat finished blank. It comes off a lot cleaner. And we've got a brand new from Netcraft number 12 ring guide that's going to go on there. This is a SICK guide that we're going to put in place. This Johnny Morris has got a set of SICK guides, titanium frame, but we're just going to go with the regular stainless steel frame for replacement. Netcraft didn't have the titanium frame, which is really no big deal at all. If we're doing a replacement, it's the same color. It's got like a smoke finish, kind of like the way that the titanium looks. So we're going to strip this apart and clean it up and put it back together, make it like brand new again. Okay, one of the first things I'm going to do here is I'm going to warm up this epoxy a little bit with my micro torch, and loosen that up a bit and make it easier to get it off of there. There's a little piece of that metal foot still stuck under there, so I can cut on top of it without worrying about gouging into the rod blank itself. You can see there's a little piece of metal you can see shining in there from that foot. That way I can take this razor blade right on top of that metal foot and not worry at all about scratching the rod blank. There we go. Now you can see how that's just popping right out of there. That metal piece from the foot. That's like pulling a bullet out of Festus. There we go. And at that point I can start peeling this back and take this off in pretty good chunks. And once I get the thread going, I can just unwind it and it's going to come off nice and clean. And literally just with my fingernail scrape the rest of the epoxy that was on there off of there real nice. And then I'll do the other side. Okay, as you can see, I've got the rod blank all cleaned up. I've got the new guide that's a double-footed guide with the SICK ring taped down onto it in place where I want it. It's in relation to in line with all the rest of them, close enough. I'll make a final adjustment after I'm done wrapping it. And I've got the maroon thread which matches everything else that's on the blank here, loaded up ready to go. And this is going to be pretty easy because there's no trim bands or nothing. It's just a solid red, maroon, should I say, wrap. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this. This is a D thread, and get it all wrapped up. What I like to try to do is I like to have, you see where the overlap is, let me get you a tighter shot here. Where the overlap is here where the thread is coming out, and it's up here on the top of the rod. What I like to do is I prefer to have all that happen on the bottom of the rod so you don't see it. 99 out of 100 people wouldn't notice it, but a rod builder would. So I pull that out, pull that around, so it's coming out on the bottom part of the rod, the opposite side that would be faced up while you're using the rod. And I've taken it around 5 or 6 times, and then I'll give it a little bit of a pull just to tighten it up a little bit, and then cut the excess off, and then continue my wrap. Going to tighten up the thread a little bit. All the time when it walks up the guide of the foot initially, it has a tendency to jump over itself. The thread does, and you know, get a little bit out of shape. And so, right when I come up onto the foot guide, I'll do a little bit of packing, a little bit of adjusting, and just continue on from there. Once I get up close to the wishbone here, what I'll do is I'll put the thread loop underneath it so I can pull it back through when I terminate it. And I like to come around at least 5 or 6 times on that. And I'll pack it. I'll push this thread right up to the wishbone here, pretty tight, because I'm going to pack that thread down, you know, in this direction here, in order to tighten it up. So it's kind of like I'm overpacking it a little bit, but that's okay, because you'll see how I'm gonna move all that thread around so it lays down in there just fine. Okay, now I'm going to pack and burnish. Pack the thread in there a little bit. That tightens it up real nice so you can't see through it as easily. And this burnishing process, that flattens the thread out so you get it so it's nice and flat and even. Cut the tag end off. And by burnishing that a little bit, that little residual piece, that little burr will just go right up underneath the rest of, whoops, sorry about that, right up underneath the rest of the threads and just disappear right in front of your eyes. So I'm going to wrap the other side, and I'll come back and show it to you when it's done. Okay, I finished wrapping up the other side of this. and you can see this is ready for epoxy now. Okay, I've got the two-part epoxy, the flex coat mixed up. I got it in a little cup here. I mixed up about a half a cc of each, so I've got about 1 cc of flex coat mixed up. This is I've shown it before, but this is the product here that I use, the flex coat two-part. It's a high build, and that's exactly what I'm going to try to do here on this. Is I'm going to try to build this up as high as I can on the first coat. It almost always needs a second coat, but I'm going to try to get a good coat on the first coat here and get it saturated in all in the threads, work it around, make sure it gets up underneath the foot, and go from there. We'll get this light moved around so get a little bit better shot of this, a little clearer shot. Plus it always helps if I'm using the magnifier, that way I can see everything I need to. I always make sure I get a little bit of a bead of it, not just on the thread, but just on the blank, to make sure there's a good seal that's made down onto the rod blank. That way no moisture and crud and peanut butter and jelly and whatnot and fish guck can get up in there. And like I said, I'm going to try to pile this up pretty high. When I warm it up, some of it's going to want to drip off of there, and we'll deal with that when that happens. But for now, I want to get it as saturated and built up as high as I can. Some rod turning motors turn faster than this one. Yeah, that would be nicer, but I'm in no big hurry here. You know, I'm not doing this for production, doing one rod at a time, or in this case, one guide at a time on repair. So just take my time and get it right where I need it. Okay, I've got that built up pretty high, and when I put the heat to it, it's going to want to flow, and some of it's going to want to come off of there. But like I said, we'll address that when it starts to flow. Just taking the micro torch and just waving it at it a couple of times to try to get those air bubbles popped that's in the finish. Okay, that'll take care of the first coat. I'm going to let this turn overnight, and tomorrow we'll look at it, and I don't know if you can see it or not. I'll zoom back in. I'll come in as tight as I can on this, so maybe you can get a look at it here. Come on, camera, focus. No, I'm in a little too tight. But around the, right at the edges where the threads meet, where they end, where they terminate here, you can see there's where it's going to be a little bit thin there. I don't know if you can pick it up on that shot or not. The same thing with here. So the edges of the thread you'll start to see stick out a little bit because it just won't build as high right there right from the start. But that's usually the only place where it shows that it's apparent that it needs a second coat, and that's what we'll do. We'll put a second coat on there tomorrow, and it'll be done. I want to remind everybody to subscribe. Yeah, hit the subscribe button. That way when I put new videos out, you'll get a notification, and you'll know that there's new stuff to see. And I want to thank everybody that has subscribed and been tuning into the videos, getting some counts on some hits on it, and that's pretty cool. Lets me know that people are watching, and you know, maybe they're picking up a little bit that I have to share. And don't be afraid to hit the like or dislike or leave a comment. If you're a YouTube user, leave a comment. Let me know what I'm doing right, wrong, or what you want to see me do different or whatever. A little bit of feedback would be great. And we'll see you next time. And this rod will be out there in another month or so, and Dave will catch a big one. I guarantee it.